Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is Daily Drop number 120. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hope you're all having a great weekend so far. Look, tonight we're going to talk about Prince Andrew again. I can't help but hate this guy more and more each time an article comes out about him, or honestly, anytime I see his stupid face at this point. There is zero doubt in my mind that he is guilty of what he has been accused of. That is my opinion, and I would have to see mega evidence to change my mind at this point. Everything this guy has done, everything this guy has said, the way he has acted, the way his people have acted, it all points to him knowing so much more than he is letting on. In fact, what it really points to, in my opinion, is that he took part in the actual abuse. Not just enabling folks, which is bad enough, but actually taking part in the abuse and being sick enough to actually try and lie about it, even though there's pictures, other corroborating witnesses, etc., etc. This guy has the audacity to try and lie about it like we're actually going to believe him. But we don't believe him, do we, folks? Of course we don't. Come on. Nobody believes him. Not one single person, not one single mammal. Look, the coronavirus that broke out in Wuhan is more believable and more trustworthy than Prince Andrew at this point, okay? I'd rather spend time in that Wuhan hospital where all those people are sick than spend 1 minute in the presence of this disgusting virus named Prince Andrew, because he is just a sick, gross, disgusting, sad excuse for a human being, folks. So the Daily Mail has a new article out, and it has to do with the moron Prince Andrew. And the headline is, Prince Andrew called his victim, Virginia Roberts, a very sick girl. Duke made insensitive remark just days after she told of her abuse at hands of Royals' pedophile friend Jeffrey Epstein. See, folks, look, just from the headline, it shows you what they think about us, what they think about you, what they think about your kids, what they think about anybody who isn't one of them. If you didn't win the draw, if you're not part of that world, if you cannot help advance their careers, or if you're not offering something, forget it. You are not welcome. All right? No vacancy. Prince Andrew described his alleged victim, Virginia Roberts, as a very sick girl, the Mail on Sunday can reveal today. It's absolutely disgusting, reprehensible. Virginia's a sick girl? No, my friend. You're a very, very sick man. A man that should be buried underneath the prison. Or maybe, just maybe, you should be taken to one of those CIA black sites and you should have to have a talk there. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice, shoe on the other foot type shit, huh? How about a little waterboarding? That might be cool. The Duke made his insensitive remark in a message to a friend and business associate just days after Miss Roberts described the appalling abuse she had suffered at the hands of Andrew's pedophile friend, Jeffrey Epstein. Just think about that for a minute. What sort of man, all right, what sort of human would make those sorts of remarks after Virginia Roberts comes forward and says that your buddy Jeffrey Epstein did that to her? A normal man, a man that actually cares about people, a man that actually has something he stands for, would respond to that with an absolute debilitating critique of the person who sent that message. I mean, if someone would send me a message about a girl who came out and said that she was raped by Jeffrey Epstein and his disgusting cohorts, and would be joking about it, there's certain things you don't joke about, and that's definitely one of them. So I don't understand, what sort of people Andrews used to hanging out with if he thought that thought joking about Virginia Roberts after she just came forward. I don't know what sort of people he hangs out with, but to think that that's okay, I don't think that's okay in any realm for anybody. It's disgusting. That's juvenile. It's something if maybe you're 18 or 19 years old and you think you're cool, that's something you make a joke about. But an adult, a grown man, a prince, an honorable man, I wonder if he was wearing the right kit when he made that statement. Her shocking revelations, which came in this newspaper, were accompanied by the now infamous photograph of the prince with his arm around her waist. Oh, it was photographed though, folks. I mean, Photoshop though, folks. Yeah, come on. The prince doesn't recall any of this. The prince of nothing. All right? That's what he is. The prince of nothing. The apparently dismissive comment to his friend, who had asked how Andrew was coping with the scandal, appears to question the mental health and credibility of Miss Roberts, who later claimed she was forced to have sex with Andrew from the age of 17 after being trafficked by Epstein. I'm looking at this picture of him right now in this article, and he's wearing this overcoat jacket type thing, but his face, he just has like these hollow eyes and like this just very like hateable face. Just looking at him elicits anger in me. I just can't stand this man. I really cannot stand this man. Last night, a lawyer for clients suing the Epstein estate said, until Andrew talks to the FBI about his relationship with Virginia and what he knows about the other victims and wrongdoers, it's his credibility at stake, not hers. For sure. Look, Virginia Roberts has done all the hard work. She has come forward. She has put her cards on the table. She has shown the pictures. She has shown the evidence. She knows the whens, the wheres, the whys, and the hows, folks. You know what that's called? That's called a credible witness. Okay? Prince Andrew, on the other hand, has zero credibility with anybody. Even the most ardent monarchist must be saying to themselves, oh man, this guy's in big trouble. He did this. Because that's where the evidence points, folks. The evidence points that Prince Andrew not only enabled, but took part in the abuse. Virginia's mental health is excellent and has been throughout, although it has been severely tested by Andrew and Epstein. Man, oh man, the things that these poor women have had to go through. The things that these poor women have had to go through, folks. The things that Maria Farmer has had to go through. The things that Virginia Roberts has had to go through. Absolutely unconscionable. Where was everybody to stand up for these girls? Where was everybody to tell these sick, disgusting scumbags that you will not get away with such shit around me? None of these people that hung around them, none of these people, they were all that scared of this guy and Ghislaine Maxwell. Well, in normal circumstances, that doesn't happen, folks. So there has to be something else that made them scared of them. And the only thing that could be is exactly what we've been talking about and exactly what others have been talking about. The intelligence agencies cast a large shadow, folks. People fear them. And with good reason. And with good reason. They can destroy your life in a heartbeat in many different ways. And it is just recently that people are starting to wake up to the fact that there are factions in not only our country, but other countries that are completely and utterly off the handle and off of the reservation. They do what they want. There is no oversight. And they just continue to wreak havoc so that their endless wars can continue to go on. I mean, you can go all the way back to Barry Seal and et cetera, folks. It goes on and on and on. But at the end of the day, the only way people could ever possibly be so scared of Jeffrey Epstein like Cindy McCain insinuated was if there was very powerful players protecting the Epstein ongoing criminal conspiracy, because that's what it was, folks. All right, not trafficking ring, it's that, but it's much more. It was an ongoing criminal conspiracy, and all of these people had their part. The Duke made both the bad taste joke and his comment about Miss Roberts' health to his friend Jonathan Rowland in 2011. The very sick girl slur came in an exchange seen by MOS. Mr. Rowland, the son of controversial property tycoon David Rowland, had contacted Andrew saying, "Hope the press isn't getting you down much." The Duke replied, "Not at all. She is a very sick girl, apparently. The innuendo is the problem, but there is nothing that one can do for that. Shrug and move on." Yep, that's how Andrew really feels. Not like he said in the interview, none of that. All face-saving, like I said, while the interview was going on. It has nothing to do with caring about the survivors. It has nothing to do with wanting to make things right. all it has to do is with saving face so that he can stay in his position of power. Because, folks, at the end of the day, these sick, spirit-cooking MFers, all they care about is staying in power so that they can keep feeding their sick, perverse desires, whatever they may be. And they all have them, folks. They all have them. The Duke replied, not as all... Okay, we passed that, excuse me. His comments appear to show little sympathy for Miss Roberts, who had bravely waived her anonymity to tell the disturbing story of the years she spent as Epstein's abuse victim. And right, how many times have we said that on this podcast and, of course, other places? The bravery shown by these girls to step forward it cannot be talked about enough, folks. It takes such wherewithal and such bravery, and you have to steel yourself mentally and physically to come forward against people like this. And these women came forward, and they told their story, and they were ignored. If people would have listened to Maria Farmer, none of this would have ever occurred. So those people who did not listen, those people who turned the other cheek, and those people who helped protect Epstein, I hope you all burn in the deepest, darkest part of hell. The Duke failed to show sympathy for Epstein's victims during his disastrous BBC interview with Emily Maitlis in November that ultimately led to him quitting royal duties. During the questioning, Andrew insisted he had no recollection of ever meeting Miss Roberts, who is now 36. But the messages between the Duke and Mr. Rowland suggest that Andrew had spoken to someone, possibly billionaire Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell, who is alleged to have procured young girls on Epstein's behalf, about her claims. And we've seen those emails before as well, right? And what the English media is doing here is good work, folks. You know I'm very critical of the legacy media. But the English media, the way they're going about their business and the way they're tackling Prince Andrew, they have to be commended. I have to give them their props because every day they're going full frontal on this dude. I hope one day in America the same thing occurs. Hopefully with this whole impeachment thing wrapping up, the media is going to pivot and they're going to start focusing a little bit more on this case, and they're going to put the resources into it that's necessary. But it's hard for me to believe that's going to happen when you see the people who run these media companies in America. They're all buddy-buddy with Wexner. They're all buddy-buddy with Epstein back in the day. They're all buddy-buddy with all of these people that are going to come out in these documents. So we expect them to do a proper investigation. I don't trust it. I do not trust it. So that's where, the citizen journalists come in, and the content creators who aren't mainstream media. There's a lot of information out there, and nobody's putting it together better than those content creators. And the media is way behind the eight ball. They're not, the American media, I'm saying, they're not attacking the story nowhere near the way they should be for how salacious it is and how the twists and the turns and all the other stuff. I mean, come on. How they are not following this case and going hard after it is just beyond me. Last year, it emerged that the Duke asked for Mrs. Maxwell's help in dealing with Miss Roberts' claims in 2015. In an email uncovered by BBC's Panorama, the Prince wrote, "Let me know when we can talk. Got some specific questions to ask you about Virginia Roberts." Miss Maxwell replied, "Have some info. Call me when you have a moment." Folks, that is an ongoing criminal conspiracy. That should be slapped with RICO. They're talking about how they can evade being in trouble after they used a young girl as a trafficking victim. After Prince Andrew abused Virginia Roberts and Ghislaine Maxwell's house after being brought on Jeffrey Epstein's plane. Folks, how is this not an ongoing criminal conspiracy? The only reason that I can think of is that those penalties are way too far-ranging and way, way, way too harsh for somebody as beloved and as important to intelligence for Jeffrey Epstein was, for him to get slapped with that. But now that it's just Maxwell and the cohorts, I would love to see them get slapped with RICO. That would be a fantastic day, folks, because it meets all of the parameters. The exchange with Mr. Rowland is one of the few times Andrew has directly referred to Miss Roberts, who claimed she was forced to have sex with the Duke in London, New York, and on a private Caribbean island owned by Epstein. She claimed that Andrew bought her alcohol in London's Tramp nightclub in March 2001 when she was 17, before they had sex at Miss Maxwell's home. The Duke, 59, has denied the allegations against him. A war of words erupted last week between U.S. prosecutors and the Duke over his willingness to help the FBI's inquiry into Epstein. U.S. Attorney Jeffrey Berman accused the Queen's son of providing zero cooperation, but sources close to the prince hit back, saying he was more than happy to talk, but hasn't been approached yet. Oh, they hit back. What is this, high school? These are real people that are involved here, Mr. Prince. All right? Virginia Roberts is a real-life person. All right? Somebody who has a family and hopes and dreams, and you crushed all of those. And for you to stand here and act like the FBI has not been trying to talk to you, and to do it with a straight face and send out your minions with this canned-ass statement, that's chump shit. You're a chump, straight up chump. No questions asked, and you have no honor. If this was the year 1100, forget it. Forget it. You wouldn't have been hopping on a horse and riding in any melees riding in any jousts or anything. You're not that. You weren't built for that princely kind of life. You're just a straight up chump, and you're an abuser, and you're somebody who used his great power and privilege for great evil. And that, my friend, is reprehensible, and that is disgusting. Miss Roberts last week urged him to do the right thing and talk to the U.S. investigators. Tweeting a picture of a mocked-up missing persons poster featuring the prince, Miss Roberts wrote, "TikTok, Andy, time to talk." Yeah, well, it is time to talk. How long is he going to be able to evade justice? How long is he going to be able to hide what he did? Look, and if you can't get to him, that's fine. You got to get everybody else then. You have to get Ghislaine Maxwell, put the screws to her, and have her roll over on this dirtbag already. Epstein served 13 months in jail after striking a controversial plea deal over sex charges in 2008 and was rearrested last July and found dead in jail the following month. In another message to the Duke, Mr. Rowland asked, "How is it in the trenches? Hope you are surviving." The Duke replied, "Keeping head below the parapet. Been trying to engage with the media on all fronts, but they won't listen to sense at the moment. Hopefully HMG, Her Majesty's government, will finally swing in today." Oh, isn't that nice? Hopefully Mommy will come in and save the day again. This guy is just, I cannot wait. I cannot wait to see his face when he gets subpoenaed finally. Mr. Rowland advised that it's sometimes best to ignore them and disappear for a while, but Andrew insisted it was no time to hide. Of course not. He cannot be out of the public eye. He has to be in the public eye. He was groomed for it. He's the Prince of England, after all, you silly little peasant. Their discussion came after a Mail on Sunday interview with Miss Roberts published on February 27, 2011. As part of our report, we stated that she had undergone counseling to cope with her past and had years earlier seen a psychiatrist and been on antidepressants. Our report did not, however, detail the current state of her mental health. Well, you know what? Guess what? That's what those medical professionals are there for, okay? If you go through the kind of trauma that Virginia Roberts went through, do you expect her just to sort that out on her own? You can't use that against somebody. Come on, give me a break. She suffered great trauma at the hands of these incredibly powerful people, and nobody believed her. So she's just to sit around and she's supposed to compartmentalize it and deal with it on her own without any help? That's BS, folks, and anybody thinking that's an absolute moron, in my opinion. During his BBC interview in November, Andrew repeatedly stressed that he had no recollection of ever meeting Miss Roberts, adding, "I'm convinced that I was never in tramp with her. I can tell you categorically I don't remember meeting her at all. I do not remember a photograph being taken. I said consistently and frequently that we never had any sort of sexual contact whatever." Give me a break. We saw the picture. It was not faked. You had your disgusting little fat arm around her. You're dressed like a stupid dork. And we know what you did, Prince Andrew. You know what you did, Prince Andrew. Be the honorable man you said you were and come forward and let's talk about it. Last year, this newspaper revealed the extraordinary financial ties between Andrew and the Rowlands, with the Duke plugging a Luxembourg-based bank for the super rich that the Rowland family owned while he was on taxpayer-funded trips as Britain's trade envoy. Of course he was. He has to double dip, got to eat out of both sides of his mouth. He knows how to be an organized criminal. Folks, come on, they all do. That's what they do best. They're the biggest organized crime family in the world, these governments. Never mind the mafia. Never mind the cartels. It's these governments who are the real crooks. Our other leaked messages between Andrew and Mr. Rowland show how the pair discussed secretly continuing their controversial business relationship under the radar. The Duke last night declined to comment. Oh, I'm sure he did. I am sure he did. He is not the kind of guy that's going to comment, folks. He's a chump, straight up chump. Hey, Duke, you're a chump. Prince Andrew, the world is watching. 4 of Jeffrey Epstein's survivors write an open letter to the Duke urging him to talk to the FBI for the sake of your daughters and their children. The Duke of York was under renewed pressure last night after 4 of Jeffrey Epstein's alleged survivors signed an open letter urging him to talk to the FBI for the sake of his daughters and their children. It warns the Queen's second son that the world is watching and says he has the chance to be on the right side of history. The victims say the Duke has the ability to create positive change, and they exhort him to take the decent and moral path to help authorities in the U.S. with anything he had observed during his friendship with a convicted pedophile. Last week, the Duke's accuser, Virginia Roberts, who claimed she was forced to sleep with him 3 times, issued a similar plea, saying he should do the right thing and adding, "TikTok, Andy, time to talk." Her intervention came as a top U.S. prosecutor accused Andrew of providing zero cooperation despite a request for an interview. The open letter is written by a former model who uses the name Kiki and is countersigned by 3 unnamed Jane Does. All 4 are clients of Los Angeles-based lawyer Lisa Bloom. Oh, good God, Lisa Bloom. Another one. Shouldn't she be worrying about Harvey Weinstein and his weird anatomy? Shouldn't she be trying to defend him still? Because she did do that, right? So all of a sudden now she's so worried about these victims, right? It has nothing to do with publicity for Lisa Bloom or Gloria Allred. No, nothing at all. They're just such champions of women. Please. It says, please help the U.S. authorities with anything you may have observed in your time spent with Jeffrey Epstein. Do it for the victims who have lived a life of suffering, shame, and humiliation. You can make things better for us and for future generations with your cooperation. Do it for your daughters and their children. You have a chance to be on the right side of history. The world is watching. And look, the survivors who wrote the letter, good on them, right? I have a bad taste in my mouth for Gloria Allred and for her daughter. I feel like they're publicity hounds, and I feel like they try to steal the show and make it about them, when in reality it needs to be about these survivors, right? These women who survived this just absolute and utter disgusting reign of terror. They're the ones that should be the ones that are getting the spotlight and the ones that are talked about, not the lawyers. Kiki broke down in tears on a U.S. talk show last year as she described being assaulted as a teenager by Epstein in his mansion in Palm Beach, Florida. Epstein, 66, killed himself, allegedly, last year as he awaited trial on sex child abuse charges. Last week, Andrew and the FBI were at odds over whether the prince had ignored requests for help in the Epstein inquiry. The Duke's friends claimed he would be happy to speak to U.S. investigators, but hasn't been approached yet. However, the Americans insisted that was untrue, claiming they had tried several times to arrange an interview. On Monday, New York attorney Jeffrey Berman accused the Duke of zero cooperation. And again, folks, that's like almost unheard of. The FBI never calls people out like that. Ever, ever, ever. They play everything close to their vest because we all know information is king. And if you have information, well, you have the upper hand. So the FBI always tries to have as much information as possible, just like the intelligence agencies. He gave a press conference outside Epstein's New York mansion where Andrew had stayed and said that the Duke had failed to keep his promise to help police probing co-conspirators. He claimed the FBI and U.S. prosecutors had written to Andrew's lawyers seeking an interview but were snubbed. On Tuesday, an anonymous source close to the Duke said nothing could be further from the truth and stressed that Andrew was more than happy to talk to the FBI, but he hasn't been approached by them yet. An anonymous source, huh? Was it Ghislaine Maxwell dressed in one of the pair of glasses that has the nose on it and the mustache? Was she dressed like that, calling herself as an anonymous source as she's out there, parlaying and trying to help Andrew? I mean, what does this even mean, an anonymous source? Really? Anonymous source, my left toe. In December, the Mail on Sunday revealed that a new witness had come forward to corroborate claims that Andrew was dancing with Miss Roberts at Tramp nightclub in London. Miss Roberts says Epstein forced her to have sex with the prince after a night of dancing at the club in March 2001. After watching the prince deny Miss Roberts' claims during his car crash interview with Emily Maitlis on Newsnight, a woman came forward to insist that she had seen him at Tramp that evening. Corroborating witness, folks. Credibility, receipt. Andrew has none of that. Lisa Bloom flew to London to interview her and also tracked down a second person, a friend of the woman she originally came to interview, who supports her account of the night in question. During the Newsnight interview at Buckingham Palace, the prince said he was not at Tramp and had taken his eldest daughter, Beatrice, to a party at Pizza Express in Woking that afternoon, and then he went home. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what he did. He went home and he just, he hung out in his princely underwear and he was watching TV all night. Well, his good friend Ghislaine and Jeffrey were in town. I am sure that's exactly what occurred. Miss Bloom told the Mail on Sunday the first woman, a Londoner, contacted me after she saw Prince Andrew's interview. She was very disappointed that he denied knowing Virginia and denied being at the club. That is what spurred her to come forward. No one should be above the law. She added, the FBI is looking into Prince Andrew. They want to speak to him. He said he wants to cooperate with law enforcement, and yet it doesn't seem to be happening. So I would like to help this move forward. The Duke of York has denied Miss Roberts' claims that she had sex with him on 3 occasions. Revealed. Prince Andrew made sick gag about breast cancer in boorish text to his friend Jonathan Rowland, and it's too offensive to be repeated. Boy, isn't that nice. As somebody who suffered for 2 years, a year and then a year of recovery of the person I love the most, my girlfriend, having breast cancer, it's really not a funny joke, my friend, all right? Not really a funny joke, and to be honest with you, the kind of joke, if somebody said it to me in my presence, you probably catch that 3-piece with the soda, to be honest with you. I might punch you in the mouth. Yeah, honestly, I'm just being real. There's really no place for cancer jokes, all right? And every one of us has been affected for the most part by somebody who has had cancer. And for this elitist prick, this inbred Habsburg jaw-having MFer to make jokes about breast cancer while he's out here raping girls, it's beyond the pale. This dude is he needs to get his punishment, boy, let me tell you. In his now infamous Newsnight interview, Prince Andrew described himself as someone with a tendency to be too honorable. The self-aggrandizing remark may have surprised those familiar with the Duke's reputation for rudeness and boorish behavior. But a message containing a repellent so-called joke about breast cancer sent by Andrew to a friend and business associate is likely to shock even those used to his gauche sense of humor. The Mail on Sunday has seen the appalling message sent to his friend Jonathan Rowland. It appears to be a gross distortion of a BBC News report about the benefits of breastfeeding. It is too offensive to be repeated. I mean, come on, man. This guy is an absolute piece of garbage, all right? So you think it's funny to make fun of people that are suffering from breast cancer or any cancer? You think it's funny? Well, I have news for you if you think it's so funny, Mr. Prince Andrew. Why don't you go sit in one of the chemotherapy centers or where the people get radiation and see all the people coming and going and see the courage that they show on a daily basis. You wish you had just a smidge of the courage that they have, the people that are battling these diseases, all right? You're a reprehensible human being and you deserve that 3-piece. The crude joke was circulating on the internet and Andrew, 59, forwarded it to Mr. Rowland in an ill-judged attempt at humor. The Duke sent the message in March 2011 to Mr. Rowland, who described it as the latest email from HRH. Mr. Rowland then forwarded it to his father, David, another of Andrew's friends and business associates. Mr. Rowland Sr. responds to his son, asking if the message had been sent by the Duke. Jonathan Rowland replies, yes, he's nuts. The revelation is likely to infuriate the palace, as there are 13 cancer charities with links to members of the royal family, including the Queen, the Prince of Wales, and Prince William. It is not the first time that the Duke has been accused of highly offensive and inappropriate behavior. Again, folks, if it was just in a vacuum and it was a one-off, we could be like, he was just being a dumb idiot. But when you add everything up and you put it into the big picture and you take a nice long look at it, you can only come to one place. Prince Andrew is a piece of human excrement. Last November, former House Secretary Jackie Smith claimed he made racist remarks about Arabs during a state banquet for members of the Saudi royal family in 2007. Separately, a former Downing Street advisor claimed that Andrew used the N-word during a meeting at Buckingham Palace. The palace denied the Duke used racist language. Yeah, right. You think that he cares about anybody else? He probably still looks at Africa like it's a big gigantic colony. Forget this guy. Nothing he says is the truth, in my opinion. Big-ass liar. Andrew sent the breast cancer joke at the height of the scandal about his links with convicted pedophile Epstein. It came less than 3 weeks after the Mail on Sunday published an exclusive interview with Virginia Roberts, one of Epstein's survivors, in which she revealed she was flown to the UK to be introduced to the prince. The report included a photo of Andrew with his arm around Miss Roberts at the London home of Epstein's ex-girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell. Andrew was Britain's trade envoy from 2001 to 2011 and earned a reputation for boorish behavior. In 2010, Simon Wilson, a former deputy head of mission in Bahrain, who hosted the prince, revealed how he was known throughout the Gulf as HBH, His Buffoon Highness, because of his childish obsession with doing exactly the opposite of what had been agreed. The Duke of York declined to comment last night. Again, His Buffoon Highness? So I guess we're on the right track with that, huh? Elizabeth Day. Andrew's cancer joke was bad enough, but its timing just days after pictures emerged of him arm in arm with Virginia Roberts made it even worse. Prince Andrew has a talent. He is truly, exceptionally gifted in one specific area. It is not, unfortunately, a talent for anything especially useful. He is not particularly skilled at being a member of the royal family, given that such a role requires discretion, good judgment, and an unimpeachable reputation in order to be carried out effectively. Nor was he a success as a UK trade envoy. He stepped down from that made-up position in 2011 after a string of controversies and diplomatic incidents which saw one ambassador describe him as cocky and verging on rude. No, Prince Andrew's natural flair and ability is for something else entirely. It's for making situations incalculably worse for himself. It is for taking terrible decisions and then myopically standing by them. It is for possessing a tin ear for how things appear to ordinary people who have not been brought up in gilded palaces, attended to by whispering courtiers and ingratiating yes-men since the day they were born. It is, in short, a gift for manufacturing shovels magically out of thin air with which to dig himself into an even deeper hole In this sport, Prince Andrew is truly an Olympic champion. We saw his capacity for self-sabotage in full flow in the now notorious Newsnight interview in November, during which Emily Maitlis quizzed him on his close association with the disgraced financier, pedophile, Jeffrey Epstein. It was an unwitting masterclass in misplaced defensiveness and unchecked self-aggrandizement. 100%. This is right on the button. I haven't even had to jump in. She's been right on the button here with this last little ending piece. She's just been smashing it out of the park. I love it. Very good. Very, very good. All right, where was I? Hold on. I'm sorry. I lost my place. So, let's see. Sorry. Then you think about the timing. Sent in March 2011, within days of the newspaper publishing photographs of the Duke posing with his arm around Virginia Roberts' waist, and shortly after, incriminating pictures emerged of him walking with Epstein around Central Park. One of the emails consists of a cut-and-pasted fake news story about breast cancer that is so tasteless it turned my stomach. It is a joke which manages the double whammy of being utterly unfunny and stupid. There is no wit to it. It is poorly constructed. It is a poorly constructed jibe which uses cancer patients as an excuse for a sexual punchline. I truly can't think of anyone in their right mind who would find it amusing. Right, like I said earlier, who thinks joking about cancer patients is funny? It's like people that make jokes about like 9/11 or other disasters. That shit's not funny. Maybe when you're like 19 or 20 and you're trying to be edgy and you're trying to score points with your buddies or something, yeah, cool, whatever. But as a grown adult, a grown-ass man, a prince, you're making comments about people with breast cancer or any cancer? Sorry, that's beyond the pale of gross. This guy is just, again, it just goes to show, it paints the picture of who this man truly is and what he thinks is funny. The other email refers directly to Roberts, one of Epstein's survivors, who would later allege that she was instructed to have sex with Andrew on 3 occasions from the age of 17. The prince categorically denies her claims, but at the time of this email, questions were beginning to be asked about the nature of his relationship with the young woman. And what did the Duke of York have to say about it? Nah, not much. He dismissed Roberts as a very sick girl, apparently. With that short but telling phrase, the prince manages to be both patronizing, in his eyes, Virginia Roberts, who by this time was 28 years old and married as a girl, not a woman, and to cast aspersions on her mental and physical well-being. It reminds me of those men who seek absolution for their terrible past behavior by referring to all of their ex-girlfriends as crazy or hysterical, as if instability is a peculiar female trait, as if none of us can quite be trusted to keep our wits about us. Also pay attention to the apparently a concession that this opinion is secondhand. Had this matter been mulled over with others behind closed doors, who would it need to be to even talked about if there was nothing to discuss? Even if we were to give Andrew all the benefit of all the doubt, even if we were to believe everything he says, wouldn't most of us feel some sort of compassion towards a woman who had, in all likelihood, been one of the minors Epstein admitted to prostituting in 2008? For sure. Don't you think that any right-thinking person would at least have some compassion, even if they weren't involved, or even if I was wrongly accused, even if she was mistaken, I'd still have compassion for these girls. Of course, I'd be pissed and I'd defend myself like a madman, but I wouldn't. These girls been through something. These girls have been through it, man. And this guy has no compassion, no empathy ever. Instead of casually labeling her very sick in an email to friends, wouldn't we have taken a moment to pause and wonder whether the sick one in this particular dynamic was Jeffrey Epstein? I think most of us would have done that, don't you? Not Andrew. He goes on to say he will shrug and move on. Of course he will. It is what, up until this point, he has been able to do all of his life. He has never had to accept responsibility for his actions because he has been insulated by a bubble of privilege he refuses to see or acknowledge. 100%. I just said this earlier in this podcast before getting down to this paragraph here. This guy has used his privilege as a cloak and a shield to mistreat people, and he has taken it way too far this time. And he has to be checked. He has to face the music. It's why, when I interviewed him several years ago and asked him if he ever wondered what his life might have been like were he not a member of the royal family, he became visibly irate. He simply could not conceive of an alternate reality. He lacked the empathetic muscle to imagine himself into the life of an ordinary person, and it angered him. It angered him that he had been asked to try. So I'm not surprised by the lack of compassion shown in these messages, but I wish it were different. I wish Prince Andrew would astonish us all with some vestige of self-reflection. I wish he could understand that others find offensive in the words he uses and in the way he behaves. I wish he could demonstrate a willingness to change, to cooperate with the authorities, and to show he cares. But I suspect that, in the end, he will always be blinkered to the plight of anyone other than himself, forever shrugging and moving on. Folks, that is Prince Andrew in a nutshell. A man who thinks it's funny to joke about people with cancer, a man who calls a victim of a monster like Jeffrey Epstein crazy, and a man who has been escaping justice for far, far too long. And the walls are starting to close in on him. And as more and more of these articles come out, Hopefully people will start coming out and having the courage to leak different things perhaps. Maybe we'll get a log of where he was that night by his protection detail. Who knows what's going to happen in the future, folks. But I'll tell you this much. This guy, Prince Andrew, deserves all the scorn in the world. He is one sick, depraved, disgusting SOB and a complete and utter embarrassment on the monarchy. All right, folks, if you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. Also, if you would like to help support the podcast, you can do that by clicking on the GoFundMe link inside of the description box. All right, everybody, I'll be back tomorrow morning with the morning update, and then we will be back, of course, with the daily drop. All right, everybody, enjoy your night, and if you're watching the Super Bowl, I hope you enjoy the game. I will talk to you all tomorrow.